Antique car rallies like those here in Montafon in Austria are a real magnet for fans because they provide one of the few opportunities to view perfectly preserved historical automobiles. But at this year's Silvretta Classic, 25 cars powered only by electricity had to cope with the challenges of alpine roads as well. And they weren't all exotic one-offs. A Golf was also among the participants. Ulrich Hackenberg says the Golf is the most popular car in the world because it meets all the demands a car should. And with this race, VW wants to show it can provide future customers with the reliable mobility of the future. Some cars are aimed at a more select group of customers. This Mercedes SLS doesn't have an internal combustion engine either, but it does have plenty of power. 533 horsepower and a staggering 800 Newton meters of torque, at least for as long as the battery lasts. Ola Kallenius says that from the very start of the SLS's development, Mercedes thought about an electric drive for it, and now the car maker is trying to combine that with the issues of performance and emotion. Sports car handling and no guilty conscience about emissions. Of course, there's no throaty growl from the engine, but the tires still squeak. In the Golf, you don't miss the sounds from under the hood nearly as much. With 115 horsepower, the electric version is just as powerful as its regular counterpart, and it was easily able to master the rally route. But its top speed of 140 kilometers an hour is a drawback, as is its maximum 150 kilometer range. The rally organizers' decision to present both the past and the future at a single event met with a lot of approval at Volkswagen. Ulrich Hackenberg says people at VW found the idea of the combination very exciting, looking back to the past on the one hand and into the near future on the other. And if you look at these extremes in the rally, he says, the passes that climb over 1,000 meters in a very short distance, it's clearly a great opportunity to show future customers that VW's cars are able to do that. Mercedes is also very proud of its entry. The car maker showed at the rally that its designs are mature, says Thomas Weber. In fact, he complains that the route is far too short and insists that with Mercedes technology, you could go a lot further. Many of the other participants feel the same. Plenty of the electric cars here have broken the 150-kilometer distance barrier. Audi's e-tron can manage 250 before it needs a recharge. But in spite of all the advances, there are still some major hurdles to overcome. Weber says it's clear that there are still a few limitations, such as creating public stations where people can go to recharge or refill their automobiles, for example. You have to think about how you want to plan those systems. We all need to be pulling in one common direction, he says. The most common response he hears is surprise and fascination at how far along the technology is. A lot of city mayors have already told him they want to get going on the project, and he says that's exactly what we need to do.
Mensch, da muss ich ja jetzt loslegen und genau das ist notwendig.
The concept of electromobility is far from new. VW already developed and sold the Golf City Stroma back in the 1980s. It came equipped with a charging cable that could be hooked up to a standard socket, an electric motor under the hood, and a huge battery in the area where the gas tank and exhaust were found in a standard Golf. One big difference was that they retained the manual gear shift. Well-preserved specimens of the breed can still be used to perform daily tasks. But at the rally, they aren't taking part in the competition. Ulrich Hackenberg says that VW has always focused on the topic in both research activities and early development, and that now it's become much more relevant due to the huge leap forward in battery technology. With modern battery cells, we can drive much longer distances than we could before, he says. Electric cars now have a range of around 150 kilometers, a range that really poses an alternative for VW customers when it comes to worry-free mobility. In that sense, he says, the company has been able to gain a lot of experience over time that it will now be able to implement in its production cars very quickly. At the finish line in the village of Gashurn, the drivers of the electric cars were as proud as all the other participants that their vehicles mastered the 1,000-meter climb without any complications. The car of the future has gotten a lot closer.